Hey everybody, Bronco here, working on the 76 GL1000 motor again. It's President's Day, and I got the day off today, so I'm going to try to get the back side of this put together. I'm still waiting on some hardware and stuff. I ordered a bunch of new screws for the transmission cover and thermostat housing and all that kind of stuff. Over the course of last week, I took a bunch of these parts into work, and we got a bunch of stuff. We got a bunch of stuff painted. We got the transmission cover painted and the thermostat housing and all the little tubes and elbows and oil covers and all that kind of stuff. I don't need to show you everything, but all the little additional bolt-ons. I have opted to not paint the motor, as the factory paint is in pretty good shape and I don't really want to disturb that. In order to get this back cover on, I needed to get the starter motor on, and we got that on there. That's another one of the little parts that I painted. That goes on real easy. There's this little cog right here, and it literally just, slides on there. This is trapped inside the motor, so if you ever need to change your starter, you don't actually need to take the motor out and take this cover off and all that. There's two bolts. You can loosen this bolt. There's a bolt down here. There's an O-ring on this diameter that fits inside of here, and that'll just pop out, and this chain, this cog, will be just stuck on that chain, and it can't fall off with the cover on here. There's a little boss inside there that holds that, and you could just kind of finagle that around and get that spline to go in, and a couple of bolts. That's pretty simple there. And then these parts that I have here, I wanted to show in case anybody is unaware of how this works, or what's underneath this cover here on the side of the motor. That's where your final drive gear goes. So I've got the gear here, and it's all kind of greased up, and to put that in, you just take and you just literally just kind of drop that inside there like so, and then you've got your output shaft. One end is splined, which goes into the spline on the bike, and then the other end is straight like this, and that'll go right down inside there. You just kind of reach that in and hook that gear on there, and then there's a bearing all the way in the back that this slides into, and just kind of get that in there, and there you go. It's as simple as that. So, and then now that's in there, and you can see that when this whole deal turns, that whole deal there turns. And so now we're ready to put the put this cover on here, so that'll get bolted on. And then on the back side, we're gonna clean this up. It's pretty cold today, so I'm gonna clean this up, and I'm gonna hit all this with a heat gun just to knock the chill off of it, so that when I put my sealant on there, I get a nice seal. And we'll put this rear cover on here, get it all bolted up. Okay, so here's the inside of the rear cover that goes onto the back of the engine here. And I ordered a new gasket, but you know what? This gasket is stuck on here really well, and all the important stuff that matters is in real good shape. You can see right here, there's a little blowout on that right there. But this is where the clutch goes, and there's still plenty of meat around inside of here. This gasket appears to be a little bit more rubbery and probably about twice as thick as the replacement gasket that I ordered, which is indeed a Honda gasket, but looks a little bit different than this one. This one's stuck on here really well, so I'm just going to go ahead and put this gasket back on here. I've got this all cleaned up. I scraped off any additional gasket residue stuff on there, and I cleaned that all off with my multi-purpose cleaner stuff there that I use whatever works good for you. You can see the winding for the stator. This is not everyone will have this. This is for the Kickstarter, which actually connects to this right here. This is the bearing where the output shaft right here will be supported on the back side of the motor. And then this is the boss that I was telling you about inside here. That's what this raised area stuff is here. It's called a boss. And this is where the front of that starter gear goes. So, that's inside there. And if you were trying to push a new starter onto your motor without actually removing it or taking this cover off, this is going to prevent this starter cog here from being able to slide off the chain. I mean, you can see that, there's a little bit of movement there. So if you take that out, this will just hang here on that chain, and then you got this to push against to be able to get that in. So there's no worry on the back side here of any kind of timing chains or anything like falling down inside of your motor. It's just impossible. It can't happen, so don't worry about that. So I'm going to warm this stuff up a little bit just to knock the chill off of it. I'm going to smear some Honda Bond all around that surface there, and then we're going to slide this on there, and we're going to go ahead and torque it down. Okay, so I got the rear cover on, and I torqued all these bolts all around here. I have that all done. And then I was getting ready to put the clutch cover on here, and there's a gasket that goes there too. You can see I kind of screwed myself over a little bit by putting this cover on first. I did not plan ahead very effectively, and now I'm left with this gasket on here that I have to scrape all the way around. And it won't be a huge deal. I mean, it's going to be a little bit more of a pain in the butt. I could take a heat gun and probably get a lot of this stuff to peel off. But yeah, for sure it would have been easier to go ahead and scrape all that off there while just this was sitting on the bench, and then none of this would have been in my way, and I could have got all around there. So that's what happens when you do something for the first time. I'm a first timer doing this, so you guys learn from my mistakes. When you're putting this cover back on, if you're going to replace this gasket, scrape all that off while it's on the bench. All right, well, we're back, and that was a tremendous pain in the butt. So much so I had such a hard time getting up into this area here. You can't even fit a razor blade in there. So while I was off camera, I went ahead and I loosened up all those bolts, and I took this cover back off so that I could scrape this on the bench. The Honda Bond hadn't really sat up yet, and I just cleaned all that and just did it again. I've done so much on this. I don't want to take any chances, cut any corners, end up with some rink-a-dink oil leak that's just going to drive me insane for the rest of my life because I cut a corner. So I went ahead, took that off, and we got it all back on there. All that's torqued down again. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the clutch cover on here. I got the clutch cover here on the bench. Got a new gasket on it. That gasket will only fit one way, and the clutch cover will only fit one way because the spacing on these bolts is different. You've got this part right here where your clutch cable actually goes in to pull. It should be sticking up, and it should be sticking up right through here. So you want to get all that stuff lined up. I'm going to go ahead and smear some Honda Bond on this, and I'm going to slide that gasket on there, and then I'm going to smear some Honda Bond on the face of that. I'm going to put the cover on, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to torque everything down, and then the back side of this motor will pretty much be done, ready to go. I also wanted to show you, for future reference, anybody who needs to replace this gasket, if you ever need to take this off, you can service this clutch and everything while it's in the bike. You have to take the swing arm off the back of the bike, but you can center stand it. You can pull that clutch basket out, replace all those plates, make adjustments, all that kind of stuff while the motor's in the bike. So if you ever take this off and you need to replace the gasket, here is the Honda part number 11393-371-306. And hopefully that'll help some people out. You can get that gasket ordered up. Okay, so there we have it. Got the clutch cover on, and that all looks good. Everything is torqued down all the way around. This whole back end here is good. Starter's back in. Everything's torqued down. Before I took all this apart, I had taken pictures of things like this just to make sure that I got these little cable ties and stuff kind of back where they're supposed to go. I've got some stuff I got to put back on here. There's some snap rings and things like that that go on this stuff for this Kickstarter mechanism. And I took all that stuff off. The book tells you, yeah, you need to take that stuff off, which in actuality, no, you don't. I didn't need to take any of that off, but I did. And so I'm going to put that stuff back on. That's no big deal. It's a couple snap rings and just slide everything together, clean it up. But we are one step closer to getting this motor all wrapped up and being able to get it back in the bike. I ordered a center stand. You can see I've got it centered up, and I'm going to do a little bit of stuff to the frame. I made a pin down there to put the center stand on. So that's going to be pretty handy. That's not something that I'm going to leave on there all the time. I've just got a pin through there, so if I need to center the bike up, I throw a center stand on there, slide a pin in real quick, center it up, and then the rest of the time I'm not lugging that thing around. I'll just hang it up on the wall. So that's going to be pretty handy. 25 bucks well spent. So getting ready to get it back in the bike. Pretty excited. Can't wait for the weather to break, but here we are in February. So gonna be a little while. But thanks for watching.